everybody, and welcome to another week of Makers Monday. I am Anastasia Radloff, aka a Stampin' Blondie, and I'm excited to hopefully not buffer this week and be back with you for another week of live step-by-step crafting. Now let me just make sure that I'm live over on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching, make sure to comment, say hi, let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see where everybody is joining me from each week. So looks like I'm live over on Facebook. Now, just as a little caveat, 2 weeks ago when we had Makers Monday, I was having some buffering issues. And I think it's because when you live overseas, you get something called a VPN. It's a virtual private network. Basically, it means that I can stream or surf the internet as I am in the United States. So basically, my IP address shows that I'm in the States. I can watch like Netflix and Hulu and everything with it. But somebody told me that that could have been causing my buffering issues. So I turned off my VPN here on my iPad, also on my phone. So hopefully there's no buffering today, but I'm showing that I am live on Facebook. I am going to close that out over here on my laptop. So if I do start to buffer, I won't be able to notice. So please just comment that I'm buffering. This is recording, so it will be able to, I'll be able to upload it like I did 2 weeks ago. So hopefully no buffering this time. Like I said, if you're watching, just let me know if I start to buffer, and always just jump on and say hi as well. So it is starting to get chilly here in Korea. The past week has really cooled down a lot, which when we moved here in July is very, very hot and very high humidity. So I'm excited that it's finally starting to cool off. I get to wear my long sleeves again and leggings and just not sweat when I'm walking everywhere. This morning was actually 44 degrees, so definitely a little chilly. And also they are doing flying right now. So if you hear like loud jet noises in the background, I was sitting here in my craft room waiting for Makers Monday to begin, and I was seeing the jets fly around. So hopefully they won't be doing any takeoffs, which that is the really loud portion. Let's see. Oh, no, one is flying by right now. I can actually see it. So hopefully they won't be doing any takeoffs because that's the really loud part, but they are flying around. So hopefully not too much background noise for you guys. So, hi Mom, thanks for watching. Hopefully there's no buffering this week. All right, so today I'm featuring 3 projects featuring the Autumn Trees bundle. It's perfect for this changing of seasons, and I really love to create fall themed projects. A little fact about me, fall crafting is actually my favorite type of crafting, even before Christmas. I love the rich tones of like cherry cobbler and crushed curry to be able to put together a really fun fall themed project. So I just have a couple quick things to go over before we jump into our projects today. So let's go ahead and swap the camera and we will get started. All right, looks like I'm coming through great on YouTube. Hopefully, definitely let me know if I start to buffer. It's just a big, you know, before we moved here, they mentioned that Korea was the broadband capital of the world, meaning they have super fast internet and all this stuff, and maybe in Seoul they do, but we are about an hour south of Seoul, and so maybe it's just a little bit different down here. Hi Carol from Connecticut. Beth, I miss all the chicks in Tucson too. I miss you guys so much. All right, so before we jump into our projects, don't forget October is the Stampin' Up! Starter Kit promotion. where if you have a wish list longer than $99, this is the best option for you. You get to choose $125 of your choice in products. It can be anything from stamps, inks, dies, embossing folders, embellishments, ribbon. You get to choose $125 worth of products for only $35. That's an amazing deal. Now, if your wish list is a longer than $125 worth of products, you can do $189 worth of products for $99. Still free shipping. You get a package of Stampin' Up! Catalogs, and you get to join the Stampin' Blondie team. Now, what that means is there is no pressure and no requirement to teach classes, hold events, do Facebook Lives, or any other type of selling. You can be what I deem a happy shopper and purchase items for yourself at a discount, or you can just join the Stampin' Blondie team and create to your heart's desire. So we do have our next virtual team meeting next week. So if you're wanting to know all about the Stampin' Blondie team, there is a link in the description of this video to learn more about us, and I can give you more details. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. All right, so yesterday, excuse me, yesterday on my blog and Instagram, Facebook, excuse me, I'm gonna take a drink of water here. Yesterday, I shared this really fun fall themed card featuring the Autumn Trees stamp set, which we are going to be focusing on today. Now, the leaves are changing here in Korea, probably where you are at too. And what I really miss, which I haven't seen here, are maple trees with their really bright and like rich tones, how they turn from like yellows to oranges and reds. I really miss those. So when I saw this tree, I thought of the changing of the leaves and how they usually start out from yellow, they go to orange and then red, and it looks really, really fun to be able to create this project. So I used this with Stampin' Blends. Oh, thank you, Catherine. I got about 2.5 inches cut off my hair a few weeks ago. It was definitely needed. Very, with it being hot and humid here, it definitely needed to be cut. But I miss you guys in Tucson and everywhere else so much. Okay, so today we're creating 3 more projects. Here's the stamp set, the Autumn Trees. Now this does come in a bundle and it's on page 40 of the mini catalog. Now this bundle is kind of like a bundle that works well with another, so you kind of compare it. And we're gonna be intertwining 2 different stamp sets this week. So Autumn Trees doesn't have any sentiments, and if you know me, I like my stamp set to have both images and sentiments all wrapped into one, but unfortunately this one does not. So we're going to be pairing it with the Amber Autumn. So we'll be using just the sentiments from this set and the images from this one, so they can be paired together. It has a beautiful die set to go along with it, and we're going to be showing you how to use these. You get 2 sheets of dies here, and we're also going to be using the streaked dots and the beautiful designer series paper. So and this metallic paper, Earth and Tones metallic paper. So we're going to be using basically everything on this page except these dies here. Because those dies coordinate with that, but everything else we'll be using for our projects today. Now, speaking of our projects, we are going to go from kind of, I wouldn't say a very, very beginner crafter, but more of a somebody who's crafted, but maybe not at that like expert level. So here is a card that I created for them. It's kind of hard to see. If I tilt it like this, you can see there's embossing here in the background, and this beautiful metallic paper is under here as well. So this is more of like a card for a beginner, somebody who's in a pinch that needs a project really, really quick. This is a great project for that. And it has some really fun earth and tones that's really easy to create. Then we're gonna step it up just a little bit, and we're gonna create this one. So we have some embossing on this background here. This is some really fun ribbon. I'll show you that when we get to the project, and the designer series paper, and just that stamp from the autumn trees. Now, if you're more of an advanced crafter, now we're gonna step it up even more with some serious die cutting on this one. So this one has some fun layers to go with it. We're gonna use those 2 big tree dies. Lots of die cutting on this one, so we will work on this one first because this one takes just a little bit longer to work on. Now, don't forget, if you are wanting to create these 3 projects, you can place an order on my website. Link is on the description of the video here, by Friday at midnight. So technically Saturday morning, Friday midnight, nighttime, and I will send you the project pieces to create these 3 projects plus this one right here. Now, no stamped images will be included due to Stampin' Up! Policies, but everything, the designer series paper, cardstock, you will want the bundle to create these projects, but if you already have that, you can place an order for whatever you'd like to be included with these projects. All right. So our first project here, like I mentioned, we're gonna work on this one. Oh, and I have, let me grab it here before I forget. You can print out my weekly project PDF that has all of the supplies of the projects that I'm working on here today. And there is a back side. It has all of the item names, numbers, and prices for the 3 projects. So if you did want to place an order for any of the items, you know exactly what I used on each of the projects. Okay, now we can move on. So for this project, we've got lots of little cardstock pieces going on here. So let's get all of these out. We've got a piece of crushed curry cardstock, 4.5 by 11, scored at, or 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5.5. And we're gonna use our bone folder here to kind of crisp up our line. And we're just gonna move that off to the side while we work on the rest. We have a piece of Timid Tiger cardstock. This is one of the new ink colors that were released this year. So Timid Tiger. It works really well for a fall color. Even though it's not dark, it works really well with the crushed curry and the cherry cobblers. So we have 4 pieces of the Autumn Harvest, or was it Autumn, the designer series paper, the one that coordinates, what's it called? It is Autumn Toil designer series paper. These pieces are 1 13/16 and by 2 7/16. It really took me a couple of scraps to get those measurements down, so I really want to make sure I give those to you. But before we glue anything down, I like to just lay the pieces on my cardstock just to make sure that everything is aligned how I want it first. So once I have it there, we're gonna use our multi-purpose liquid glue. And I like the glue because this gives me a few minutes to kind of shift and shimmy my paper to get it exactly where I want it. There we go. Those jets are really loud this morning. I think they took off around, it's like 7 o'clock this morning because my husband was getting ready for work. And I was like, I really hope they don't take off during Maker's Monday. Right now they're just flying around. I can see them outside my window here. But when they take off, it is loud. My apartment faces, well, not faces, I face like the parking garage. But off my balcony, I can see the flight line and I can see where they take off. So it's very loud. There's no like taller buildings blocking the sound of that, so it gets pretty loud, especially when they night fly and trying to sleep or trying to watch TV. It just gets really loud. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad I'm back too. Crafting is the best. I love it. It's just a great way to kind of have a release when you get stressed and everything. Okay, so now we are gonna create this tree right here. So we're gonna put all of this off to the side. And I have a piece of early espresso cardstock, pecan pie cardstock, or pecan pie, however you say it, and then crushed curry. And we are gonna use these dies here to layer our tree together. Now, you probably could use the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, but because we're gonna be doing some embossing with one of our bigger embossing folders later, we're gonna use the jumbo machine here. So for this, we've got our plate number 1. Let me kind of get that into frame. So plate number 1. Now we need plate 2 because we're doing die cutting. Now I have this magnetic platform that I like to use, and we're gonna try to die cut 2 of these at the same time. So on our early espresso piece of cardstock, we're gonna use this outline die. We're gonna put that right there. And then on our pecan pie, this piece, we're gonna use this kind of die here that has, it's a big long die. It's like the inside piece of the tree. And we are gonna die cut both of these pieces at the same time. So I'm gonna run this through. Crunching and creaking noises are normal. It's the paper that's cutting. So let's run that through here. And I'm gonna run it one more time backwards just to make sure everything is cut out here. So from our early espresso, we have, get this up. Here's our outline tree. Put that off to the side. Then we have our die cut tree. Now this piece here does not cut out the tree fully. You can see it doesn't pop out. It just does the little indent here. Oh, okay. FYI, it's twall, which rhymes with fall. Oh, thank you, Maureen. I did not know that. I thought it was like toil. T-O-I-L-E is the name of the paper. Autumn, I thought it was toil. It's twall. Thank you. I did not know I was pronouncing it incorrectly. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay, we've got our pecan pies. So now that we've got this piece, we want to bring back in this large die that we just used on our piece of early espresso. Now, because we want to make sure that it's in the right spot and it doesn't kind of shift and shimmy, even though I'm using my magnetic platform, I like to take pieces of washi tape and place that around my die just to make sure it doesn't move around when I run it through the die cut machine. And we're going to run this through. Now, you probably could run both dies at the same time, the larger outline and the middle piece that I just did. But because we were die cutting this one first, we'll just come back around and do it on this one a second time. All right, we're gonna gently lift off our washi. Washi tape can tear your paper, so you just wanna be very careful when you lift that up. There we go. Here, here, and one more. There we go. So now we have the outline as well as this beautiful kind of die cut middle. So let's move this off to the side. Now we are going to die cut these leaves. Now this is one giant leaf die. So we'll bring that there. This is our crushed curry, and we're gonna use this piece here. So you could die cut different colors of paper and kind of layer leaves together, but I don't like to die cut a ton of things, so I am just gonna do one color. Yes, Carol, I never knew, like I said, I thought it was toil, like double toil and trouble, I guess. So I didn't know it was twall, which rhymes with fall. Okay, good to know, good to know. You're always learning something. So here we go. This is a really delicate piece, so you just have to be very gentle with it while you're working. All right, we're gonna move this back over out of the way here. And we're gonna assemble all these little pieces. Now on my project, you can see right here, I have offset the pecan pie piece of cardstock from the early espresso. I found when I tried to glue them right on top of each other, I felt that it kind of lost its, I don't know, I wouldn't say depth, but I would just say it was, it just needed something a little more. So I moved it off to the side so it looks like it kind of has a shadow. But before we go on, we're going to use our Take Your Pick tool, and we're gonna poke some of these little pieces out here that need to shine through. Now you could use wax paper when you run this through the die cut machine to make sure all those little pieces don't stick, but this is a new die, so I just poked all the little pieces out. There wasn't very many left. All right, now I'm gonna use my liquid glue to just add a little bit around the edges here. You don't want to add too much to this side because that is going, or sorry, this side, because that's going to hang off the other tree a little bit. So flip this around and then just kind of offset it. Now, like I said earlier, with this liquid glue, you have a little bit of time to kind of work with it and get it right where you want it. That's the joy of that glue. Okay. And then I'm just gonna flip it over and just kind of press it down just to make sure it all gets on there. So there we have our tree base. Now, with our little pieces of leaves, I like to use, now Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell this, so disregard if you are a true Stampin' Up! Purist. But this is the My Sweet Petunia. It's like a glue press, I guess. I can't remember the exact name of it. I like it because it really helps me get my fine glue right where I need it. And in this, you just need little dabs, like little teeny dots of glue. I try to use the Stampin' Up! Fine Tip glue pen, but with small pieces like this, I get glue everywhere. So with this, I have a little bit more control of the glue. And for me, it just works better. For you, you may like the Fine Tip glue pen, but for me, this works a lot better. All right, so just itty teeny tiny little drops of glue. You don't need a lot at all. And we're gonna flip this over, and this is just gonna go right onto our project. Now I like to take, let me grab it out here. I have a giant clear block, and I just like to put that right on top to kind of help it adhere on here. And then with this, you definitely want to make sure you close it up as soon as you're done. And it does have like a little holder that you can use, but for me, it just helps with the control of the liquid glue on there. All right, so we've got our tree all put together here. What is the tool glue? Okay, it is called, I think it's by My Sweet Petunia is the company. I don't know the name of it. I think it's like a fine tip glue press or gun. If you just look up My Sweet Petunia glue gun or something, you'll find it. Like I said, just for me, it's easier than the fine tip glue pen. I get better control and than the Stampin' Up! One. Okay, so we've got our tree all put together here. You can see how pretty that is. And now we are gonna assemble the rest of our card. On the back of our designer series paper, we're gonna add Stampin' Dimensionals. Hi Joyce, I hope Cedar Rapids is good. I miss everybody at home. It's starting to get chilly here in Korea, which I'm telling you, when I moved here, whew, the humidity, it was so bad. And this place, this base, is considered a walking base. You're only allowed to have one car here, and my husband takes the car to work. So if I want to go anywhere, I have to walk or take the bus. But to take the bus, I have to walk off base, and it's about 3/4 of a mile away, which again isn't very far, but when it's about 90 degrees and 99% humidity outside, whew, it's hot. And there's no way your hair is gonna look good. There's no point of putting makeup on because you're just sweating all over the place. But now it's finally cooled off and you can walk around without dying outside of heat stroke. Okay, we've got our dimensionals on the back of our paper, on the back of our tree, and now we're gonna work on our sentiment. So this sentiment, Grateful for You, is from that Amber Autumn, and we're gonna use pecan pie ink, or pecan pie, however you say it. Yes, the glue gun would help with arthritic hands. It's very easy to, you barely even have to squeeze it to get glue out. And I only use it on very fine, thin designs that I need to glue on. I don't use it every day, or all my glue things that I glue together. So if you don't need that, you can still just use regular glue, but if you do need it, you can use it. All right, we're going to take our trimmer. I just have a spare piece of Very Vanilla that I stamped my sentiment on, and we're just gonna trim this down. And I don't have a measurement for this because I just stamped it and then just trimmed it down with a spare scrap piece of paper. And we're gonna add glue to the back of that, but I'm just gonna cut the ends off here. And add a little bit of glue to the middle of this. And add that to the middle here. Oh, got stuck on my finger. There we go. We're gonna add 2 pieces of linen thread. Where's that? Right here. And about that much is good. Now with that glue, the glue gun, it does come with an empty container, so you can fill it with whatever glue you prefer. And I think it comes with one that is already pre-filled as well. So it comes with 2, if I remember. I bought it a couple years ago, so I'm not exactly sure what it comes with anymore, but I have an empty glue bottle, which is the exact same type as that. So I think it comes with an empty one that you can fill. I know a lot of people like that, like berry art glue. So you could fill it with that. You could fill it with Stamp It Up glue, whichever glue you prefer. We're gonna add this on with a Stampin' Dimensional, or mini glue dot, sorry, mini glue dot. I found these work really well for this little tiny thread. And it's gonna go there. And then our embellishments are the streaked dots. These are from that page. We're gonna use one of the larger ones. They come in 2 different sizes, large and small. So we're gonna use one large, one small. And there is our first project today featuring the Autumn Trees stamp set. So this one, like I said, this is definitely more for advanced crafters. We had lots of die cutting on here, gluing. So this was definitely took a little bit longer than your normal cards, but I really love the way that those look like fun fall leaves. You could switch it up. You could do Timid Tiger leaves. You could do half and half. It just depends on how much die cutting you're wanting to do. So this is the perfect fall card here for our first project with Autumn Trees. All right, let's get some of this out of the way here. We're gonna move on to our next project, which is gonna be this fun Mossy Meadow card. I don't typically tend to gravitate towards Mossy Meadow for crafting. If I'm gonna go for a green, it's either gonna be Granny Apple Green or Old Olive for Christmas crafting. But this designer series paper leans more towards the Mossy Meadow card color. So that's what we're gonna go with. So I have a piece of Mossy Meadow cardstock, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And another piece of Mossy Meadow, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5. So it's going to cover the entire front of our card. Now, technically your card base could be whatever color you want it to be because this covers up the whole card. If you had a scrap piece of basic white or very vanilla, you could use that as your card base, but I'm just keeping it Mossy Meadow, Mossy Meadow. Now for this, you can see we have this really fun kind of embossing folder here. This is the Dotted Circles embossing folder, and you can see how big it is. Like, there's the size of my hand underneath. I love this folder because if you are wanting to emboss multiple things at one time, or an entire card front, look, an entire card front fits in that embossing folder. We are just going to do one, and we're going to focus our cardstock right here in the middle. Normally I align my cardstock to this black line at the bottom of the embossing folder, but I really want this circle to be right in the center of my paper, so that's where we're going to focus our paper at. So hopefully it's not crooked as we run it through. Now these embossing folders have to go through definitely the big machine, so that's why we've got this guy out today. Now, when you're embossing these, you just need platform 1 and your plate number 4. You can see right there in the corner, plate number 4. So we've got our embossing folder down, our plate, and we're gonna run it through the machine. You get a good arm workout when you're doing these. There we go. And lifting this guy back and forth gives you good arm workout too. Okay, go there. So here is our embossed piece. A fun, like, you could do a really fun tie-dye look with this embossing folder, but we're just keeping it simple with tone on tone with our Mossy Meadow. Now, when I use this embossing folder, especially this one with really deep grooves in it, I definitely want to use my liquid glue for this. It'll help get into the crease and crevices of that embossed piece and really help it stick to the cardstock a lot better than your Stamp and Seal. So we're just gonna add that on there, and I'm gonna flip it upside down and bring in that big clear block again and just put that there. I have a piece of Cajun Craze cardstock and a piece of that Autumn Toile designer series paper, and we're gonna put in this little flag at the bottom here. Now, when you're doing this normally, like I like to do my flags, I like to cut a little indent with my scissors, just a little cut in the middle, and then take from one corner to the other corner. Now, because we're doing 2 pieces here, our cardstock and our designer series paper, we want to make sure that our cuts kind of line up. You can see here, it's a little more difficult when you have 2 pieces that you want to line up with each other. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna do that little cut here. And I'm gonna flip this over because it's a little easier to see on the designer series paper side that's not as busy. So same thing, just cut your flag at the bottom. Now you'll see when I put this on here, actually that turned out pretty well. Sometimes, oh, I don't know what just fell, oh, my designer series paper fell over. Sometimes when you freehand it like I just did, your angles may not line up a little bit. So what I like to do then is glue it together, and I'll just trim off the cardstock at the bottom. I'll leave the designer series paper how I cut it, but then you'll just trim a little bit off the bottom here. But it worked out really well for my first cut on these, so we're just gonna glue them together and add them to the card. So right there, got that, and now we can add it again to our card. Again, because we're gluing straight cardstock to embossed, liquid glue is the best option. And this is gonna go in the upper left corner, again with the big block, just to kind of use a little bit of pressure to kind of keep it down. While that's there, I have a die cut piece of crumb cake cardstock from the Nested Essentials dies. It has some really fun kind of stitching around the outside there. And we're gonna take the tree stamp, the smaller tree stamp, and crumb cake, so tone on tone, and we're going to just stamp a fun little tree here. A fun little happy tree in the middle. There we go. And while we have our crumb cake open, where is my, I thought I had a piece of sentiment, but we'll just use this spare piece of paper here, unless I lost it somewhere. We'll just use this spare piece of basic white, or very vanilla, and the sentiment that says, "Blessed to have you in my life." And that's just gonna go there, and we'll trim that up to match. Okay. And let's get our scissors out. I don't want to get out my trimmer, so we're just gonna free scissor this. Hopefully it's straight. Close enough. If it's not, then that's how you know it's homemade, because it doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. As I cut it to make it perfect. We're gonna add Stampin' Dimensionals to the back of the tree that we stamped. And that's gonna go on top in the middle of our designer series paper. Right there. Now our sentiment piece, you'll notice that if I just add one Stampin' Dimensional to the back on this side and liquid glue on this side, it'll kind of be off center. So I'm gonna add 2 Stampin' Dimensionals on top of each other, and this will help it keep it flat and level against the rest of our card. So 2 dimensionals high, even though we only have 1 dimensional high with this embossing folder on that side, it really kind of gets off center a little bit. So we're gonna add that there, and then you can see it is a little more flush to the card there. This is that ribbon that I was talking about. This is the 3/8 irregular weave trim. It kind of reminds me of like a handful of hay. Like if you were going to just grab a handful of hay, it's kind of all irregular. So that is this. And I haven't tried to change the color of this or anything, but I would think you could probably use some Stampin' Blends to kind of color it, or a blending brush to really change the color of this ribbon. I like that it's a neutral tone though. It goes with a lot of different things. So we're just tying this into a bow, and I'm just gonna trim one of the edges there. This is gonna go on with a mini glue dot. You don't wanna use liquid glue on this because it has that open weave to it. If you were to use liquid glue, you would get liquid glue everywhere. So mini glue dot for these. I just like to kind of roll it into a ball, stick it on the back of my ribbon, and right onto my card. We're gonna go back in with the streak dots and one of the larger and smaller sizes again. And one is gonna go there, the other here. And that is our second project featuring the Autumn Trees bundle. I love this one. It's really fun with this embossing folder and this textured ribbon here. A great card. This can be used year round. It doesn't have to just be a fall card. Blessed to have you in my life. That's a great card to have on hand for anything. So that is our second project for this week's Makers Monday. All right, and our last one here, like I mentioned earlier, great for those beginner crafters that maybe not right away a beginner, stepped up just a little bit. And we have very vanilla cardstock with a card base size of 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So your typical card size here. And I've already pre-embossed because we've done a lot of die cutting and embossing already, but I've pre-embossed with the Gathering Leaves embossing folder. Again, one of those giant folders. You can see, let me tilt it a little bit. You can see what the leaves look like. Let's see, there we go. They are directional, so you will have to make sure that your leaves are going the right way when you emboss, but we're gonna glue that right to our card base with some liquid glue here. Right there. Again, flip it over and just kind of rub the back, and that really helps it kind of stick a little bit better. Now this was the Earthen Tones metallic paper. Definitely not as bright as a copper. It's kind of like a dark chocolate metallic paper. This is beautiful, and you can use it with so many different occasions. It doesn't just have to be a fall paper as well. So we're gonna take, this is my favorite designer series paper from that package. Very simple, very muted, kind of like sepia or sepia, however you say it. These tones here, here's the back side. Very simple, but we are going to glue this to our piece of metallic paper just to give a little bit of shine around the outside. And metallic paper does, because it is slick, it can take a little bit of time to glue together, but we're just going to keep that on there and let that sit for a minute while we do our sentiment piece. This is from the Spotlight on Nature's dies, and it has a bunch of different circles with different edges to those circles. And we're gonna use the sentiment that says, "You're simply the best," with our Early Espresso ink. And again, I pre-die cut that just because we die cut on our other paper or projects, and we embossed on our other projects, so you can kind of see that process if you're new to that. Right. We're gonna wrap some of that irregular weave ribbon across the front. So you just need enough to kind of wrap around the back. And we are gonna use the best adhesive to have in your craft room. We're gonna use Scotch tape. I love Scotch tape. If you've watched my videos before, I always have it in my craft room. It is the perfect adhesive, and you don't have to worry about it being messy. And usually everybody has Scotch tape in their house. There we go. And I'm just using Scotch tape on the back here to adhere our ribbon. Nobody is gonna see the back, so it doesn't matter what adhesive you use. So it's already adhered on there, perfect and easy. On the back of that, we're then gonna use dimensionals to pop this up. Because of that ribbon there, I don't like to just glue it down because it kind of gets uneven with that ribbon there. So just dimensionals will help it keep flat, and you can still have that beautiful ribbon right across the front. Right there. Our sentiment piece is also going to go on with dimensionals. Now, because we have this ribbon here, we only want to place a dimensional at the top and the bottom so that the ribbon will thread right through our sentiment piece. Now, these straight pieces of dimensionals are perfect for just that. Even though they're not your typical pieces, I love to use the outside of my dimensional sheet and use every single piece that is available. So we've got it just at the top, and then our ribbon will go right through there and it will be flat. So there we go. And 2 of the streaked dots. This time we're just going to use 2 small ones. Are going to go in the upper right corner of our designer series paper. And that is our last project today, featuring the autumn trees. Kathy says, I love to have cards in stock that are a little more neutral with some masculine touches for those guys in our lives. Yes. So all of these projects today are perfect masculine projects as well as fall. So you can easily mix and match. They're great for birthday projects. I mean, grateful for you. That obviously is not really a birthday card, but blessed to have you in my life. You're simply the best. These are all great birthday cards as well. So let's go ahead and lay out all 3 of our projects today, and you can let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. We have our metallic, very vanilla, our mossy meadow, and then our beautiful fall tree here. So let me know which one is your favorite this week. I'm kind of torn. These 2 are probably my favorite. I really love the simplicity with the metallic paper of this one, the pumpkin designer series paper, but I'm really torn. These 2 are my favorites this week. So I hope you guys enjoyed them as well. Now, I look forward to coming to you. Now, remember, Makers Monday is going to be moving to every other week. So in 2 weeks, we will be making some more fall cards. I'm really excited about that. And then after that, we will transition right into Christmas. Now, I have a fun Christmas card that I created for a tutorial group that I'm a part of. And look how fun that is. I am really loving this stamp set. So I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for more fall themed projects. And until then, don't forget the Stampin' Up! Starter Kit promotion runs from the end of this month. And if you want these projects to create yourself, place an order at my website. Link is right here. By the end of this week, and I will send you the project pieces for these 4 projects. I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, have a